Thank you all for joining me tonight. I am very excited to have the men in my life on my Story Mondays tonight. We're going to give people a few more minutes to go ahead and log on so they can get in on this conversation. Hey, I see Miss Adicia. Hey, Mama Disa. Let's see. Amanda's on here. JaMichael, she's on here trying to make sure that you don't say anything that she would not approve of. Hey, Andrew. Let's see who else is on there. I see Mr. Mark. Christy. I see a lot of people. Thank you all for joining us. We're going to go ahead and get started. This is going to be a very, very interesting conversation. I have no idea what I was thinking when I invited these three gentlemen on for tonight, and I realized I'm standing on my own. So that was not very smart. I know what our conversations go like at home. So I don't know why I decided to do this public by myself. And normally I would try to grab my mom, but she doesn't like the to be on camera, and she doesn't like doing Facebook lives and everything. So I am standing on my own. So I need you ladies, if it gets too rough, I need you all to support me in the chat, okay? All right. Well, I wanted to do this tonight because it's so many things that have been going on in the last few weeks. We've had from coronavirus and everything that's been going on with that for several months. Now we're having the issue with the George Floyd and all of the aftermath that has come from that. And then we had Father's Day yesterday. So for me, it's a lot of things lately that's just been surrounding men. And so what better men to bring on tonight than the men in my life, the men who I love dearly, who I respect, who I honor. And I I guess I'm not introducing you all to the world because you do more lives than I do, but introduce you to some and present you to others. But let's go ahead and get started. I want to start it off just a little light tonight. Let's see. I'm going to ask each of you a question. Let's see. So we've been talking about this quarantine thing, okay? So we've been in quarantine for a while now. So my question, and anyone can start, is what have you learned during quarantine? What is something that you thought you needed, but now you realize like you can live without it? Anything in particular? Something you're doing less of, something you're doing more of? Is it something that's been bringing you peace of mind, a hobby that you picked up?
I'll start off. I think one of the things I could do without is Zoom calls and live calls. Had no idea that being quarantined was going to bring about this kind of situation. I thought it was going to be restful and peaceful, but it hasn't.
Need some light. It's dark in here.
By us being on tonight.
Yes. So you have been doing a lot of Zoom calls. I have too, but I think you have me beat. And it's so funny because a few weeks ago, JaMichael posted a video of this pastor who was trying to do a Bible study. He was an older gentleman. Oh, it's hilarious. But he was an older gentleman, and it was his first Zoom call, I'm assuming, the way he was acting on it. And people were making so much noise in the background, and he was just trying to get them to stop, and he was getting so frustrated. And it reminded me of Dad. When I was doing my Zoom calls, he was slamming pots and talking in the background and slamming doors. And then the minute he did his first Zoom call, he wanted the whole house on lockdown. So I just thought that was hilarious. What about you, Mike?
This whole time, Corona pandemic, quarantine it started off real rough for me. I'm a busybody. I'm always moving. I can't sit still. I've never been able to sit still. And so when it first started off, I was sitting still, and I was in the house with my wife, with my 3-month-old at the time, my 2-year-old at the time. And when they say terrible twos, I always thought that was a joke. That's a real thing. And so he's going through terrible twos right now. And I think y'all got a glimpse of that yesterday. And so it was rough being quarantined, locked in the house, nowhere to go initially. But after a while, after about a couple of weeks, it became kind of normal. It became a little it wasn't as tough as it was the first couple of weeks. And so I sat in the house for the first month or two, really trying to figure out how to spend my time and what to do. And the Zoom calls, like as Pastor said, as Dad said, I mean, the Zoom calls got out of hand. And so I really had to pick up something, find something to do during this moment, because one of the things I do know, when you sit still, they said what to say, an idle mind is the devil's workshop. So when you sit still, you find yourself losing yourself. And so one of the things that I started a podcast, which I have been putting off for a very long time. I said, I'm going to start this podcast. It's the perfect time to do it. I started that. And then I did pick up a hobby. And so I picked up golf, y'all. I ain't no good, but I look good in it. I went golfing the other day. Dad said, where you going? I said, I'm going to play golf. He said, now, did you just go play golf because you want the clothes? You know how to play? I said, a little bit of both. It's 50-50. Halfway fashion, halfway feel, man.
I think that's the same with TJ. The other day when he went with you all, I had to go meet him to pick up Deanna, and he stepped out the car. I said, where are you going, boy? He had on some new shoes, some new pants, new golf shirt. He had on a hat, and I was like, is that a wasp on your head? He's like, where? It was a tag. He still had the tags hanging off his cap. I said, oh, you ready? So, JaMichael, actually, I'm glad that you are finding something, because I think that's very important. You always have to have some form of release for any time, anything. You have to have some form of release, some way to release your mind, some way to relax your mind. And everyone needs that space. What about you, TJ?
Well, I can tell you one of the things I realized that I didn't need was the television. I'm a big movie buff. I love movies. And I said, I'm going to take this time. I'm going to watch movies. But what I realized, watching movies is not going to be possible when you have a 7-year-old girl in the house that loves YouTube, and she's always watching YouTube families where they get paid to have fun and go on trips and all of that, and that's all you hear all day. So she took over the television, and I realized I didn't need the TV. But getting in the Word. Also, there's some things I've been working on for my business as well, and trying to get ready to go back to the church when this whole thing is over, and just trying to get prepared for things that I probably wouldn't have time to do if we weren't in this pandemic. Because I'll be hitting the ground running and everything, but it's been very, very, very good for me. And I tell you one of the things I realized I really, really need, really confirmed to me that I need, and that is my family. I have enjoyed, when I tell you I enjoyed my wife, I have enjoyed my daughter. It's amazing. It's just amazing. And you don't miss something until you don't have it. And I miss them thinking about when they weren't able to be here with me on a daily basis. I miss them just thinking about the past when they weren't here. So it's been awesome, and I'm so thankful. Yeah.
Well, thank you for
wife
sharing
watching.
that.
Say what?
Your wife watches.
I know, right? She's sitting there right in front of him. I'm sure.
Right in front of with the cue cards.
Hey, y'all bear with me. I was on the back porch and it started raining. I got to get a couple of electronics off. I'll be right back. I'm so sorry.
Leave it to TJ. But anyway, so thank you for sharing that, TJ. But I think for me, the one thing I realized I don't really need is probably, well, I need it, but not right now, a car. I have had on March 16th, that was the last day that I actually went into the office and I actually was out and about. And I went and filled my tank up. Do you know I have a half a tank right now. And I have had that since March 16th. I've only used a half a tank since March 16th. Now, part of it's probably because I drive my mama car when I do go somewhere. But I don't need gas. I just use my mom's gas. And so that I just really have been enjoying. I'm a homebody anyway, so not being able to really go anywhere has not really been an issue for me as much. But now I'm really starting to feel it. As much as I thought I was a homebody, and I am, it's a difference when you don't have an option, or it's a difference between when you can go out and it's just not safe. So we're going to go ahead and really get started. We spent enough time talking about this. I want to talk. So yesterday was Father's Day. And one thing that TJ said that I really want to touch on is he was talking about how he's just missed family. And so during this time, I will say that that's definitely one of the things that I have really missed as well. At the start of this, that's when Nason was born. Nace in the place. That's JaMichael. And I don't even think I introduced everybody. The guy up in the top, he's my left, my top. That's Pastor Ternae Jordan. That is my father, our father. The young guy on the bottom, the bald head man, that's my oldest brother. That's Ternae TJ. And he is also the assistant pastor at Mount Canaan with my father. And he has his own business, Najor Enterprises. He does coaching, he does training, workshops, and all types of things. He's an author, he has a book. And then we have JaMichael Jordan. He is my younger brother, and he is a pastor also of The Village, which is a church plant of Mount Canaan. He also has a podcast that he mentioned called Decoded, which is totally amazing. So if you have never gone and listened to any of his podcasts, it's called Decoded. It's on Spotify, iTunes, I guess everywhere podcasts can be found, Mike. Right. And just go check them out. They're very good. And if we have time at the end, I'll let him just tell you a little bit about it. But and I'm DeJuan Jordan, and My Story Mondays came about. I am in the process of finishing up my first book called My Life, My Story, Our Lessons, where I will be talking about different experiences and things that I've experienced in my life and the lessons that I learned from them. And I will be teaching others how to take their life experiences, the good, bad, and the ugly, and turn those into life lessons that they can use to share with others and help impact others as well. And so yesterday, going back to what I was talking about, family. So yesterday was the first time that we all really got together in a long time. And I mean, I truly enjoyed it. Nathan was born right when all of this happened. And so I really was feeling the separation anxiety, because it seems like we missed so much of his life. And he's grown. He's a big baby too, just cute as he want to be. But he's grown so much just during this pandemic. And I feel like I didn't get to spend as much time with him as we did Micah. And so yesterday was really good to really be around everyone. So all of you are fathers. And so I want to start this off. I want to know, with all that's been going on lately, how is it, and then we'll go back to the father part, but how is it being a man in this society? And then we're going to add, how is it to be a Black man in this society? And it may be the same thing. I don't know. You share with us. So let's start off with our leader. Let's start with Dad. How does it feel being a man in today's time, or man period, however you want to answer that question? You're on mute.
You're on mute. Mute. I said mute. You're on mute.
He does more Zoom calls than all of us.
Yeah, you probably tried to mute me. But anyways, I think being a man is one of the toughest things there is in the world. And I believe that's why there are so few real men. And let me define that. You know, there are people that talk about good men. I try to identify in my personal experience a good man as being a godly man with one O instead of two. And in this world, it is tough. It's tough facing the world. It's tough being a provider. It's tough raising children. It's tough staying consistent in relationship. It is tough. And then when you add on being a Black man in America, it is doubly tough. And sometimes I think that we misunderstand what being a man is. I heard JaMichael say, I think it was yesterday in his sermon, is that being a man is not just producing children, but also being there and accepting that responsibility. My definition for responsibility is having the ability to properly respond under every circumstance. So that's tough, especially when there are others that are depending on you and you're responsible for others.
Thank you. You want to talk about that, TJ?
Absolutely. Being a Black man, it's tough, but it's extremely challenging It's a challenging thing to do. And when you say challenging, it's just saying there's challenges you have to face. There's things that we have to deal with that a lot of other men don't have to deal with. And it's very difficult. And one thing I try to do, and I think I'm doing it, but being a Black man, I try not to live in fear. I do not live in fear. I do not fear. We do not have the spirit of fear, but we have the spirit of love and a sound mind. And I believe in that. And so, but what I try to do is I try to live accordingly to the word of God, of what a real man is. And that's what keeps me grounded. Challenges come and adversity comes in so many different forms, in so many different fashions. But I stay grounded on the word of God, and that keeps me able to deal with challenges and with peace and comfort. But it is extremely challenging. It really is. You always have to walk on eggshells, walk on eggshells, want to say the right thing. You don't want to be the stereotypical, that the label that we have. And that's very difficult. But I've learned to just be comfortable with who I am and just try to live my life accordingly to a way that my daughter will be pleased, God will be pleased, my wife, my family will be pleased. And then those who are looking at me as their leader, that keeps me grounded. So it's difficult. It is challenging. It is challenging.
Being a Black man is a constant reminder. I mean, it's a constant reminder every day you wake up. I can't be anything else but Black. And so it's a constant reminder when I wake up in the morning, when I look in the mirror, when I walk outside, when I get in my car, when I make it to my job, when I go to the grocery store. You can never escape it. And so I think kind of like what TJ said, it's constantly living, trying to balance everything, trying to make sure that you aren't living up to some of the stereotypes that people believe, some of the things that they've been taught. And so constantly being conscious of what you do, what you say, how you respond. But one thing I can say is it's my norm. I don't know anything else. Ever since I was a child, I've been trained, well, not trained, but I've been raised to be who I am, which is Black. And so I think for me, it goes on. I think when I see the pressures now, I'm more comfortable with who I am than anything else. I think for now it's becoming more, it's lighting more fire up under me to raise my sons that way, right? Because I think right now, there are so many things that they don't even know about, so many stereotypes they don't even know. They don't fit the description. They don't know that they fit the description right now at 5 months and 2 years old. And so I think for me, if they can see me being comfortable in who I am and reiterating how amazing they are and how important they are, I think that's how we continue to build legacy of strong Black men. And so it's no doubt about it. It's tough out here right now for all African-American men and men of color. But I think it's more important not to harp on the disparities of your skin color and start to look at the benefits that come with it. And we are some powerful people, man. African Americans are some Black men, are some strong men. And I think we should spend more time talking about that for sure.
Yeah, let me say this, Rick. I remember we went to a school. We grew up, DeJuan went to a school where Mom used to work. It was called John A. Patton. Some people may be looking at it and remember it and probably have never heard of it. But I remember DeJuan and I was the only African Americans, Black kids in that school. And I remember one day I was in the bathtub taking a bath, and Mom was in the bathroom with me, and I'm crying, and I had this washcloth, and I'm trying to scrape off my skin color. And she said, "What are you doing?" I said, I'm tired of being Black. I don't want to be Black. I'm the only one that's Black in the school, and they treat me like this and da 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 da. And my mom said something to me that sticks to me in my spirit till this day. She said, "Baby, I know you don't understand." She said, "But one day you will. But Black people are one of the most beautiful people that ever walked the face of this earth." And before that, I knew nothing about Black history. I knew nothing about where we've come from. I was in the first grade. And to this day, I realized that she was correct. We are wonderful people. I mean, everyone that God has created and believe in God is wonderful people. But at that time, she showed me and told me that you don't understand this now. But when you get older, you'll really realize what a rich culture you come from. And the older that I get, and I meet other African, brown, and black people, I say, man, we are some phenomenal people. So, and I just wanted to just throw that in there. I thank Mama for that. I tell my daughter that all the time. You're beautiful. You're great. You're a queen. You're a princess. You're all of that. And we have to remember, we have to tell our children that as they continue to live through life.
Thank you for sharing that. One thing I will say is I have never had an issue. I love being chocolate. I do. I've never had an issue with my skin color. And you would think growing up in schools where we were always the minority that I possibly would have one, but I've never had an issue with that. I've dealt with, racism in the past, but I've never just had an issue. And I'm very thankful for that that's not something that I've had to deal with. I want to just address a couple comments in the chat. Andrew said it's the biggest privilege without actually having privilege. I think that's deep. That's good. I like that. It's the biggest privilege. Indeed, it is a privilege. Hey, Ahmad. Jamila said, can you talk about how or what to do as a single mother raising two young Black men? That's a great question, Jamila. Who wants to jump on that?
I'll go. I think one of the most important thing you can do as a Black mother, which we know are some of the strongest people that there are, is to get them around positive Black males, Black mentors, or mentors who, and not even just Black, just men, period. I don't think it's hard for a woman to teach a boy how to be a man. And this is just what I know. Dad always used to say this thing where you can't be what you can't see, but you will be what you do see. And that's real. If you've never seen a man, if you've never seen how they act, if you've never seen how they respond in certain situations, if you were not raised in a household with a man, there are certain tendencies or ways that men act that you naturally will not pick up on if you've never seen it displayed in front of you. And so no shade to young men who have been raised by women, but you have to be intentional about making sure that your sons are around men, whether it be enrolling them in programs, whether it be men at your church. Find somebody that you trust, that you believe in, and that you see has a great potential to teach others, and put your son around that. Put them in programs with their other boys, because naturally, if you've never been exposed to that, if you've only been seen by your mother and raised by your mother, you're going to have certain mannerisms. You're going to have certain characteristics that you have. And it's natural. You don't know that you have these things, but you have to be exposed to a male figure or some type of male, whether it's a coach, anybody. So please get them involved in sports and stuff like that. And I think it will help out tremendously.
Absolutely. It's good.
That's good. You want to touch on that, Dad?
I mean, I'm just sitting here with three beautiful Black people. And this is the greatest thing that a father can do. And no, I don't want to do a whole lot of talking about what it is to raise Black men. I've been doing it all my life, but my chest is pumping to watch these two beautiful Black men share their experience, share their lives. And I think this is the greatest thing that a parent can do, because none of us really know. There isn't a book about raising children. A lot of it is hit and miss. And I tell people now that I'm an older guy, I know how to raise kids. You tell them everything you know, you teach them about God, and you pray a whole lot. And you guys are the results of a whole lot of prayer. And I'm so proud of all three of you.
You're the results of our prayers too. Trust and believe.
Thank you so much.
We have definitely been praying for you all our life. Still praying.
You all knew how much prayer I was going to need being your father. I get it. Thanks.
And you pray for some more than others, right? I ain't gonna point no elbows.
So let me ask you this. What is the difference, Dad? I'm going to ask you this. What was the difference between raising boys and raising girls? We've had this discussion in the past in other settings, but just briefly, what is the difference between raising boys and raising girls? Or
Again,
not even just that, raising us, I guess.
again, there are no, if I had the answer to all of these things, I'd probably be a wealthy guy. And I don't think anybody has done, uh, have mastered it. Let me just say that. But I've tried to raise all three of you with a firm foundation, with a firm foundation. As a Black man growing up or raising Black males, I taught you guys who you were. I taught you all what my father taught me as a young man. He taught me, Ternae, remember this all your life. You're no better than anybody else, but you're as good as anybody else. And so I think we've tried to instill that in you. I've tried to walk in front of my boys, being an example of a good, godly man. I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. But I know that I've tried to do like God. I've tried to love, protect, provide, and even forgive those things that God does for us. When it comes to raising a girl, I think your mom has done a good job. I think it goes back to what JaMichael said when he said it's hard to be what you cannot see. But you will be what you see. And I think as far as your mom is concerned, I don't think that you could have had a better role model as far as being a woman. She was beautiful on the outside like you, and she was beautiful on the inside. But as far as your father, sometimes I think maybe I miss the boat sometime, because one of the things that I wanted you to know growing up in a world where it was difficult sometimes to find a godly one old man, is I've tried to make you strong. I've tried to make you tough. I've tried to make you tough mentally, not to affect your beauty or your femininity, but to make you strong, that if you did not find a good man or a godly man, that you would be strong enough to stand on your own. And sometimes now, I think I did too good of a job with that with you, Dewan, sometimes. But I am proud of who you are and the strength that you show. And but sometimes it's balance, and I think that that's the key that we got to talk about. It's no right and wrong. We're accustomed to want to say you did this right or you do, but I think when in raising a family, it's about balance.
I think that's really good. And I think you and mom did an excellent job. I wouldn't have asked for any better parents. But just talking about kind of what you're talking about, growing up, we've talked about this before. I was a little more challenging than my brothers.
Amen.
Growing up.
Amen.
Amen.
Okay. But I was a little more challenging, probably a lot more challenging than my brothers. And even now, I think that we bump heads a lot, just in the way our thoughts. And I think that's because we think a lot alike, but we have a lot of different ideas of what things should be as well. And I think that we're both very vocal and very strong in our opinions. But of course, I always get shut down in the end because you are the parent. However, I still walk away thinking what I think. You just don't know it. But I really
that's why you've been challenging.
But I would say one thing, and I did not plan to talk about this, but it's just coming up. But the one benefit that I think that we all have had, so it was a great thing, but I also see in other ways where it wasn't the greatest thing, is that we all had the opportunity to work together in a family business. And I truly believe with you and I, we've always loved each other, still love each other. That's never changed. But I think that we started bumping heads a lot more when we started kind of working together. And it kind of changed the dynamics because it was no longer just father and daughter, but now it was business that was entangled in it, and that kind of thing. And I do a lot when I'm doing my business coaching, especially with people who have family businesses, talking about how to bring that separation into the relationship in the business. And now that we've been through it, I think I have a lot more experience and advice to share with other people that you have to, when you're working together, you have to be able to have that space where you can maintain the relationship and the conversations and that kind of thing. And then a separate area with business. And you have to be able to identify and make time to just be, father and son, to just be daughter and dad, to just be brother and sister. And because I was actually directing the Stop the Madness, when we were doing the Stop the Madness, it did bring a little friction. We've always gotten along, like I said, but it was still those dynamics of separating the business and the sibling relationship, so I just think that that's very important for people who do have businesses, family businesses, to be able to do that. Any input on that before I move to the next
Yeah,
thing?
I think you have learned a lot by just sharing that. That's never been an issue with me. I've always been dad, so it didn't matter whether it was business or fresh. So I never had a problem. I'm glad to know you had some challenges.
Well, don't speak for you. Speaking for yourself. I struggle with it. There's been many times that we'll get into it, and she says, don't forget I'm your boss. You're gonna do what I say do. You the boss.
TJ.
No, don't do that. Don't do that. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And then this is what I said. I said, you might be the boss, but I'm your big brother, And so we used to bump heads like that a lot. That was one time, oh God, I'm gonna tell the whole world is watching. One day it was so bad. I wanted to put my hand around her neck so bad, but I realized I was just angry at the moment. I had to pray, and I think somebody came to pick me up. I said, man, thank you for getting me. Thank you so much for picking me up. But I remember one day, it clicked in. I knew my time was coming to an end at the job at that time. I'm sorry. What was that? You did too?
Yeah, I did.
I knew my time was coming to an end, but I knew that was her love. That's what she loved. And I remember one day I asked her a question. I said, we just got into an argument. It was heated argument. And I went on the other side of the office, and I'm sitting there fuming. And I got quiet, and I said, let me ask you a question. If Stop the Madness folded tomorrow, what do you think you will do? And she said, I don't know. This is what I want to do. And it was at that moment I realized it has nothing to do with what I want. It has nothing to do with what I desire. This woman loves this business so much that I need to do whatever I can to make sure that she live her dreams. Even if I had to put my desires aside, put my thoughts or what I believe aside, at that moment, she meant more to me than what I was angry about. And I said to myself, I love this girl. This girl has sacrificed a lot for her friends, for her family. And this is what she wants, even though I know my time coming to an end. I felt that in my spirit. Okay, all right, we get the point. We get the point. But it was at that moment I realized at the end of the day, this is my sister, and this is what she wants. This is what she loves. So TJ, suck it up and do what you need to do to make her dreams come true. And I think that the business lasted years after that. So I remember that sometimes you gotta put your desires aside for those that you love. And that was at that moment I decided to do that.
Do you remember? I remember that. Do you remember what happened when you got so mad? You went and wrote me a song. You went and wrote a song called You Are So Beautiful.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
I found that song the other day. Yeah. But that was his way. He had to go write something positive. But I mean, I think that we did a really good job as far as working together. But I think it is those dynamics, especially with JaMichael. And I'm not even going to allow him to talk on this because we need to move on to the next topic. But I think the struggle with that is that I have always been the big sister for him. And a lot of the things that I've tried to do number one, it's hard to be under the sometimes to be under the direction of a sibling a lot of times, and some of the things that's been done because there's a need and because it's business. I think it's hard to accept the direction if not bossy, because y'all always thought I was bossy growing up anyway. So I think that that was a challenge, knowing when I was directing because of business and knowing when I was being the bossy sister. And so anyway, that's enough of that. We worked out. I loved working with you all. Like I said, it had its challenges with any sibling relationship, but it was definitely a pleasure to work with you all. And we still work together in a lot of aspects in our different businesses. So I wanted to talk about this. It's 7:52. We have until about 8:15. So when I put out that I was doing this live with you all today, and I said the mind of a man, I started getting text messages and DMs and stuff from all the ladies, because the ladies was not thinking, I guess they weren't really thinking about some of the topics that we're talking about. But guess what they wanted to talk about?
Love.
Love and relationships.
Oh,
That's what they want, especially the single ladies. So I got a couple of messages in my DM, and one of the questions that I was asked the most is they would like to know, what do men need from women and what do men want? And do you think there's a difference? I believe there's a difference, but I'm going to let you all answer that.
I see they just disappear like this.
I'm sorry, man. Look, my
JaMichael done writing her cue card.
look, my computer about to die, and when she said love, and my computer died in the middle of it, I didn't want y'all to think.
Down. He didn't know what to say.
I
didn't want y'all to think I was running from this situation when my computer died. But I'm gonna tell you, since you calling me out, I'm gonna answer the question.
Hold on, before you do that, also, if you all have questions, be sure to drop them in the chat. I am looking down at the chat to answer those questions. Go ahead.
I think what we need as men, man, is just simple. It's just so simple. It's just respect. We need to be respected. That's it. It's like I said, we make mistakes. We don't have it all together. A lot of women, they want a knight in shining armor. They want Superman. They want him to just save the day and all of that. But at the end of the day, respect the fact that I'm trying. Respect the fact that I'm loving you the best way that I can. Respect the fact that I just don't have the answer. Respect the fact that I'm respecting you or loving you. The Bible tells us, that the Bible says, men, love your wives. Love your wives. But it doesn't tell the wives to love their husbands. It says, wives, respect your husbands. Respect is how we feel loved. Just respect me. Talk to me with love. Don't try to make me, feel like I'm not good enough. And that's all I want. Just respect me. Because I'm gonna respect you and love you. Just give me the respect that I know I deserve, because I'm a man.
Thank you for that. Dad, could you ask Mama to respect this Zoom call? I hear all those pots and pans.
Yeah, I put it on mute to tell her that, so I'm glad you did it.
That was a good answer, TJ. I'm just going to go to this chat real fast. Let's see. Donovan said, I have a question. Is that First Lady Angela or DeJuan? Because we can't tell. You know what, Donovan? It's so funny because I've been looking at this and I'm like, I said that I wanted Mom to get on here with me, which she wouldn't do, but she is definitely present, because I'm looking at myself in Zoom and I can't tell if it's me or her either. And I cannot help it. The older I get, the more I look like her. And then I have
all I need in my life is two of y'all.
You're a blessed man, sir. You're a blessed man. Listen, okay. So Lily Johnson said respect. So she agrees with that.
Absolutely.
Okay, what about who else? Who wants to answer that now? What do you need and what do you want?
I think TJ said it. I think, if you could wrap it up in one word, it's respect. The other thing is that women need to not try to fix men.
Amen.
Women somehow believe that we're all broken, okay? And I think all humans are. I think all humans are traumatized. They're broken. But I think women feel it sometimes it is their desire to fix a man. And I think TJ did a great job of describing it, is that if you're fixing me, that means that I am not enough. And as I said when we first started talking about men or fatherhood, you're carrying a heavy load anyway. I've always, even with my wife and my family, I've always strived to be the cushion, to be the mattress, that no matter who in my family failed, that they wouldn't damage themselves, they wouldn't destroy themselves. But when it's always something about the way you pour the water off the yams to how much you put in. I mean, it's like always something. And I think women should check themselves, because as we talked about being a man and being a Black man, you're already at the disadvantage of what the world says you are. And then these other two guys are in here, not only do they have the responsibility of being fathers and husbands, they have the responsibility of leading and guiding other people and providing the same thing that we've talked about for family. So I just think respect is the key, understanding and accepting it, us for who we are.
Okay, and JaMichael, I'm going to let you answer that question if you want to, but let me jump in here because I am the only female. And I definitely wholeheartedly agree with everything that you all are saying. But from a woman's perspective, I will say this, that for a long time in certain relationships, I found myself being guilty of that, I didn't feel like I was trying to fix them. I felt like I was trying to help them, and I think as women, sometimes that we see so much potential in the man. We see so much potential, and we desire so much for him to reach that potential, I guess. That a lot of times it's not that we're trying to fix them. It's like we're trying to pull something out of them. And a lot of time that comes as looking like we're trying to control, or we're trying to be their mom and things like that. The other thing is, I think a lot of times when you find women badgering, is not that they really even care about some of the things they're talking about. They're trying to get you to talk and to communicate. But a lot of times men don't know how to communicate, or they just don't communicate. And I know that men and women communicate differently. I get all of that. But I'm just speaking from the standpoint of a woman. And please, women, help me out in this.
Yeah, I think you've done a good job of explaining that. But the question was, what does a man need? And I think what happens so often is that when that question is asked, people began to describe and defend why they do what they do. But your question was, what does a man need? And I think you're absolutely right. I think when you're talking about relationships, you got to hear what people are saying, and then you got to meet them where they are. And it goes both ways. I'm not saying it's one-sided. But the question was, what does a man need? And I think TJ said it, and I think I've said the same thing. And I think if Amanda's not holding up the cue card for JaMichael, he's probably going to say kind of the same thing.
I purposely kicked Amanda out for this conversation. But no, DeJuan, you said something.
Hold on, let me say this real quick, and then you might be able to answer in what you're saying. I'm sorry, because I have several people in the chat asking the same thing. When the man does not receive the respect that you give, what do you do then? And that's been asked twice in here. So go ahead. If you can answer that in your response, then please do. If not, we'll talk about it after.
I can, but I'm not, because I'm going to go back to this, and then we'll get to that. I think you said something very key in what you said when you were explaining yourself before Dad came back. You were saying the reason I think it frustrates females and women sometimes is because you're looking at the potential that a person has. But that's a very potential and expectation are very fine line. And I think growing up, women look at this fairy tale story of when I get married, I'm gonna kiss a frog, he's gonna turn into a prince, I'm gonna have this Cinderella wedding, and we're gonna kiss, make up, and we're just gonna have a beautiful life. And so whenever you go into a relationship with certain expectations, right? And then you go home after you say I do, and you realize that people are human. People aren't puzzles. You cannot put them together with the pieces that you want them to have. Then that's where the frustration comes in. And especially when you begin to possibly look at other relationships around you. And so I think it's very important that in every relationship, you literally have to give people grace. You have to give people grace and letting them know that, listen, if we in this thing for a long haul, there's some things that I'm not going to like that you do. There's some things that you're not going to like that I do. But at the end of the day, as long as certain things are handled, things are taken care of, the kids are well, everybody's doing good, what really do we have to argue about? And I think the expectation we really have when we go into relationships is thinking as soon as we say I do, life is perfect, right? It's just like raising children. When you have a child and they're born, you have to learn that child. You have to teach that child. I have two children now. One's 2, one's 5 months. And I can already tell they are not the same. There are certain things that I will be able to do with Micah that I will not be able to do with Mason. And so when you go into a relationship and you bring in baggage from your old past relationships and you see what didn't work in the past and you get married and you try to say, well, you really close yourself off to potential because you're talking about the things you won't deal with and you're not going to deal with in your new relationship. And it's unfair to that new person who's in that relationship who doesn't know your past trauma the way that you do. And so it's hard for you to give grace. So I think we just have to really give people time, give relationship time to grow, and understand that expectations will ultimately leave you disappointed if everybody's not in agreement. Does that make sense?
I think that was good. And like I said, I found myself in the past doing that sometimes in relationships. But I guess the more relationships you have and the more, you experience life. Number one, I'm 39 years old. I don't have time to fix nobody anymore. So if you're not fixed when you get to me, then, I have to decide, am I willing to deal with your flaws or not? Now, of course, you have to want to grow because why are you laughing, Daddy? I have flaws too.
There we go. I think that's.
No, let me finish. Let me finish, please. Thank you. Communication. So I have flaws too, just like me. The man has flaws. And so I don't have the time nor the desire anymore to try to fix anybody. Number one, I can't. And I realize I can't fix them. But I think that it just gets to the point where you just have to realize I'm going to accept them. And you have to realize the things what are you willing to accept and what are you not willing to accept? And if you can't accept those things, then you have to make a decision. But you have to have a desire to grow together.
I think you're absolutely right, DeJuan. And life is about choices. And I see a lot of response from women, and I think we're going to have a program where we can talk about women. But today we mentioned fathers and males. Here's the deal. I think many people, as JaMichael shared about, we have these visions of what life is. And we're going to marry this person and we're going to ride off into the sunset. That is not life. And then when we talk about falling in love, we see the stars, we see all of the excitement and bombs going off. Love is a choice. I think I need to say that again. It is not everything that we have been led to believe. Love is a choice. That's how God loves us. He chooses to love us. He chose. And so when you start balancing or placing one thing on one side or then on the other, it's not going to be that way. That's not the way love is. But you choose to love someone. And we started this conversation off about talking about a relationship or marriage. People choose to stay together. They choose, and they love each other through their imperfections. And those that can't, they separate and go their way. And you said something a few minutes ago that you don't have time to fix anybody. Then you just made a choice that you're going to be alone the rest of your life. And that's a choice that you can do. But I mean, you're not going to find a ready-made person. And I think that, and this is not you, this is just people across the board. People are human. People are traumatized. JaMichael says we all bring baggage to the situation. But when you meet someone that you think you can spend the rest of your life with, you choose to do that. And that's why in the ceremony it said, through the good, the bad, through sickness and health, through poverty and wealth, it's a choice.
And I agree with that. But let me say this real quick about what he said. You just made the comment about what I said about I don't have time to fix anybody, and I still stand on that. However, it goes back to what you just said. You said I might be alone. I just made a choice to be alone for the rest of my life. But then we just talked about how you can't fix anybody. And the problem is that women are trying to fix men. So help me understand that, please.
We're not going to spend any more time. We need to move on because these are conversations that you and I have all the time.
No, but the people are listening. So I just don't want people to get it confused.
What are we trying to clear up?
I said that I don't have time to fix a man, and then you said then I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life. But then the conversation prior to that was that women try too hard to fix a man. So I just don't want to get off the call, and people are confused on.
No, I don't want them to be confused either, because I think what you said is the same thing. You said you don't have time to fix anybody. We've already said that everybody is broken. So it's not about fixing it, it's about acceptance. And that's why I said that love is a choice. You're not going to find Mr. Right. You're not going to find Mr. Perfect, because he will not be marrying Mrs. Perfect. And so in relationships, you come together, you find what you have in common or what you desire, and you say, we're going to work. Marriage is not a destination. It's a work in progress.
And I'll say this, and this is the last thing I'm gonna say on this. Love is not a feeling. Love is not a tingling feeling. Love is not seeing stars. The word love is an action word. Love is not how someone makes you feel, but how you make them feel. And so I think if you can go into a relationship thinking, already saying, despite your reaction off of this, I'm gonna love you anyway. Despite how what I'm getting ready to say, my actions after you do what you do, even though it was off key, sporadic, crazy, doesn't make sense. At the end of the day, I'm still gonna be here when you get back, and I'm gonna still love you the same, because the one thing you can control in a relationship is you. You control your actions. One of the things Dad has always told me that I still hold true to this day is Dad has always told me, he said, would you rather be with this person and their issues, or start all over with a new person? I find they have a whole nother set of issues. So being in a relationship is really finding out what set of issues are you willing to deal with. And if you find yourself in a relationship and you have your non-negotiables, I'm not absolutely not doing that, then that's your reason to do what you need to do next. But if you can deal with that compared to getting a new relationship and dealing with something totally different, just sit still somewhere.
Let me say this real quick. When he's talking about love, we got it so misconstrued, y'all. We got it so misconstrued. People think they know what love is, but you really don't. Love is really Corinthians 13. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. How do you know that you are kind to somebody until they're not kind to you? How do you know love is patient until someone makes you impatient or something? How do you know that you love somebody until you have to persevere, until you have to fight through that? So when we talk about love, you got to remember, love is patient, it's kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it does not keep records of your wrong. We all make mistakes, but why you keep bringing it up, right? It happened. I know I made the mistake, but don't keep throwing it up in my face. You know what I'm saying? All right. All right, and so when you get into that, you don't keep bringing that.
Calm down. Calm down.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry,
She
man.
can't write fast enough. She can't write fast enough.
Yeah. Let me start.
Too fast.
Let me go ahead and throw this disclaimer. This ain't personal. Let me just throw that out there. Me and my ain't having no issues. But I'm just saying this because I get these calls all the time. People calling me and talking about I thought I loved them. I thought I loved her and this. No, you know, so this is what I'm dealing with. Love, you got to be able to go through turmoil and issues and circumstances to see if you really love that person.
We understand, Pastor. We understand.
But what TJ just described, that's God. Is that not?
Exactly.
What love is sacrifice.
Exactly.
You have to sacrifice. God gave his only son to save and redeem us who were messed up, broken, and lost, right? And so love is literally about sacrifice. It's literally about giving up what you love in order to save someone else in grace and bring them in. So
I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry I snapped like that. I see people on the post like, calm down, calm down. I'm so sorry.
It's that pastoral spirit that came.
I'm sorry, man. I just want people to love people unconditionally, man.
We love you, TJ.
Please do, because I'm sorry.
But somebody asked, is Demetri over there writing in shorthand? Well, thank you for that. But before we go, we're going to bring this to an end, and we're definitely going to have a part 2. And I think, and you're definitely right, because there's no way. I think this is an excellent discussion. And I'll be honest, it was so hard for me to try to stay on the topic of the mind of a man and not try to defend. And that it was a challenge. I'll be honest. So we're going to come back, because it's so many. I'm going to have to go back and watch this and do some little bullet points and stuff to address so the women can talk. And then maybe we'll do another one. We all can talk at the same time. But it's the one question that I still think needs to be answered. And if we answered it and I just don't realize it, then please let me know. But it was asked several times. What do you do when you're showing that respect? I'm trying to paraphrase. Showing the respect and giving the love and that kind of thing, and it's not being received or accepted by the man.
I think we go back to JaMichael's explanation. Go ahead. I think he answered that earlier.
Yeah, I did. But I also say this. I think it's important that your perspective in that question is important. When you say you're giving the love, what if it's not the love that he needs? What if it's not the one that he desires? And so whatever you're giving, you have to make sure it's what that person needs, right? Because we can give all day. There's certain things that I want from Amanda that if I gave it to her, it wouldn't matter to her. And there's certain things that she wants from me that if she don't give it to me, I'm like, okay, you know what I mean? And so you have to find out, whoever you're in a relationship, what do they need to feel comfortable, survive, and feel love?
That's good, Mike. Good job.
Oh, I'm so glad I raised you guys.
I told him that, Pop. Don't take that.
First of all, I've taught all y'all how to handle a woman. I mean, growing up with a sister, I trained all y'all. I raised JaMichael. I raised TJ, even though he was older than me too. But I think y'all need to be thanking me. I showed you all what women desire. And now, y'all, I got some good brothers. I will say that. I have some excellent brothers. I've had some boyfriends, and I've had some boyfriends.
I saved your life and your future. Go ahead. Since you want to be open. Since you want to tell your story Monday.
I think he saved me. We're not going to go there. We're going to save that for another day. However, y'all made me forget what I was saying.
Good.
I was saying y'all good guys, I guess. I was there to give y'all some compliments. That's it.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Y'all just saved me for probably saying too much. But I think I'm just blessed to have good men, even though we don't always agree, because y'all said some things on here. But it's not that I don't agree. It's just I wanted to elaborate, but this isn't the time because we were trying to stay on the mind of the man. But we're definitely going to come back and do this again. It's a lot of chatter going on in the chat, and hopefully I'll go through the comments and write them down, and maybe next time when we come back we can address some of these things, or even we can still have dialogue and conversation going on in the chat after this is over. That's what Facebook is about. So thank you all for joining us. JaMichael said Well, how do you love a person who is broken and you never knew that until? So we'll talk about that in the chat. JaMichael, I'm gonna write that down and we're gonna come back next time and talk about it. But thank you all for joining us. Thank you all. It's been great talking to you all. Okay, it's been great talking to you all. I love y'all. I love y'all. I raised some great men. I really did. I'm proud of myself.
And we're glad that you raised us right, and we're glad to be on here with you. And one of the things that we have resolved in this whole conversation, we never expected you to agree with us.
Wow. Amen. Hallelujah. There we go.
That's because y'all judgmental. Okay, thank y'all for joining us. Ladies, next time it's our time. We're gonna go ahead and shut this down now while we're still having a good time. Love you all. Thank you for joining.
All right.
Y'all stay on this. We're not in this live. Y'all stay on. I need to talk to y'all, okay?
Oh Lord. Y'all need we need everybody to see it. We need proof.
Love y'all. Thank you.
Love you too,
and
sis.
happy Father's Day again.
Thank you.